So now we're going to talk about a way to look at the market that really simplifies it. We can visualize things and how we define customers within markets using S3 mapping, where customers are, what their characteristics are, their demographics, their type of industry, how far they are from things, and how we visualize it. So Jill Hathaway is going to go through this with us and tell us the hows and the wheres and the characteristics and how to use those maps, because you can get all this stuff through SBDC, and Jill can help you do it. So you're in the right place with her. So Jill,
awesome.
Take it away.
Thanks, Alan. Appreciate it. Like you said, that through your local resources and SBDCs, we have the databases to help you find who your customers are. You may have a POS system that analyzes your customers, that analyzes their zip codes, and we can utilize those zip codes and put them into a database that shows where they're located, and then demographics about them. So this is a client who actually has a restaurant up in the Kansas City Northland, and the blue dot in the middle there shows where they're located. And then we did a 35-mile radius around that location because that particular client's looking for a second location to see where they could put another location of where their existing customers are coming from. As well as where they can target market with their existing customers. So this is called a business analyst online tool, and it provides the demographic, the economic, the socioeconomic, market, and business data in this mapping tool that can help these marketing opportunities and create these data maps so that you can understand your customers better, so you can target better. The next slide then shows within that target, this colorful slide, you still see her blue dot up in the Northland, but now you're seeing all of the zip codes surrounding her in that 35-mile radius. And on the right, you're looking at these tapestries. These are tapestry segments of her existing customers and where they actually live. So like I said, we utilized her zip codes of current customers pulled from her POS system and plugged those into this particular database, and that shows where everybody lives. Now, what this also shows on the next slide, Alan, is her top 20 tapestry segments. So there's some interesting names to that: Metro Renters, Soccer Moms, Professional Pride, Young and Restless, and then seeing where those households are, where she's actually getting the majority of her customers from which tapestry segments: 11.8, 11.3, 8.2. So I always work with clients in understanding who should I target, and we're going to target a higher percentage, of course, of our customers. So on the next slide, we went into her top 3, the Metro Renters, and what that shows, and this is all probably about a 12-page report just on Metro Renters. The household throughout the U.S., not just in the Kansas City market, throughout the U.S., average household size 1.67, median age 32 years old, median income 67,000. Who they are: highly mobile, educated, lives with a roommate, lives alone, fastest growing segment, occupied by singles. Neighborhood features 20 plus unit apartment buildings. Right there is a tidbit of information that we're going to focus on apartments to do our marketing to. 80% of the households, they utilize public transportation. Maybe that's a great marketing tool that we're going to actually put signage or our advertisement on public transportation. The next segment jumps into then the next slide, Soccer Moms. So this was the second page of this actual tapestry when you open them all up. It will also share for each of these tapestries their gender, their age, their race and ethnicity. I love the bottom left, their average household budget. So what they spend and what they spend it on. This is a restaurant. So under food, they're spending $128 in a month on their food. That's key to understand so that you're focusing and targeting on your metrics and marketing. And then her third top tapestry was Professional Pride. So the next slide just goes into, once again, the next page in that profile. Frequent travelers take domestic trips, prefer booking their own plane tickets and accommodations via the internet. Right there, then, do I purchase online ads because that's where they are and that's where they're looking to spend their money, but that's where they spend a lot of their time. They take pride in picture perfect homes. They shop at Home Depot, Bed Bath and Beyond. So real specifics with each of her top 3 segments. And you could go in and dive into each of the 20 segments. I would focus on probably the top 20% of your clients, that 80-20 rule. Now, the next slide actually is this then shows the tapestries with the US. So the Esri reporting will pull the market that you're in and compare it to the US, and it can pull it by counties, by zip codes, by citizenship area. So this is the Metro, Soccer, and Professional. You see the bottom 3, which were her top tapestries, and then where they range within the United States. So they're not necessarily the top in the United States. Savvy suburbanites and soccer moms look like they hit, and then In Style and old and newcomers are those top segments within the US. So we can break this down nationwide too, if you were looking at attracting markets. And Stephanie, you mentioned using online access. You may still have a brick and mortar, but if you're looking at online and you figure out that soccer moms is your target, then we're going to actually do some marketing nationwide with that. The next slide is actually going to open up a video with a database through Uber Media and Vista that Andy's going to share in the chat. This is all no cost to any of our clients, and we can actually run these reports to our clients. So we're going to do just a quick minute and a half video for them to share, and then I'll touch on this a little bit more of the importance of this particular usage of their tools.
Welcome to the Vista Property Report. Today, I'm going to give you a brief overview on what's included when you pull a Vista Property Report. Remember, you can get insights on any boundary that you draw. Here's an example of a shopping center. And first, I can just see where the density is of my visitors to this location. Next, I can look at visitation over time to understand trends and where those peaks and valleys are in my visitation. Then I can see how my visitation looks by day of week and time of day. Next, I can see common evening location. These are visitors to my location and where we see them at night and on weekends. This helps me understand what neighborhoods are my feeder markets to my location. I can get this same data on the visitors based on their common daytime location. In other words, where we see them during the weekday, during the work hours. Then I have my pathing report, which is where visitors are before and after visiting my location. And I can also understand the visitor profile. This is showing what brands my visitors over-index towards or have a high affinity for. In other words, they're more likely to visit these locations than the rest of the folks in my market. And finally, we have demographic data on the visitors to your location. All of these insights are available in every Vista property report that you run.
So the key with this particular reporting is that it provides mobile location data and analytics and media measurements. So as they're sharing it's very strong for locations, restaurants, retail locations. And a lot of times what I've done recently is run reports for a whole shopping center so that if you have a store in a development, you're looking at the demographics that are coming to that shopping center so that you can market accordingly by drawing out the polygon around and understanding those filters. If you want to jump out of that slide, and if you can or can't, it'll show the slide similar to what's there. Yeah, the age and education. So once again, another visitor demographic. Now, these are key demographics, not specifically your customers, but customers who are coming to the vicinity that you've drawn that polygon around. So you're understanding who those customers are and creating a loyalty program, some kind of surveys, just really applying all of this input to your marketing effects. The next slide then too shows, as they were saying, this is origin parts. So this is all based on your cellular phone, your mobile device, and the allowing that to track your location. So it's coming from your mobile device. This particular services tracks it within 20 feet. So this is showing where your mobile device ends up at night, basically where you live. And that helps a consumer that if you can do some marketing where they're on social media or they're on the internet and you know where they live at night, this particular one, you're seeing that there's a high profile of 567 clients in those darker blue circles, which may be west of Corinth Square, Prairie Village area, but then you can focus that target marketing within those areas. And lastly, the Vista reports then does the proprietary data view. So that next slide, just sharing all of that intelligent business insights. They're common, the evening location, the daytime location as they shared, the path of how they get to your business. If you wanted to do billboards, if you wanted to do some other signage that the consumer could see to get to your business, and then the pulse of when they are close to your business, the time of day and the days of the week. And that actually helps track on a different, that'd be a different session on labor hours and employees of when you're actually putting them in. So Andy shared the link. The link is now free to clients to utilize that to go in and do reports through Uber Media Vista Insights. And your SBDC consultants will gladly walk you through that as well too. But it'll really key in what we're talking about today, how you're marketing and who your true customer segments are.
Hey, Jill and Alan. Jill, thank you, Jill. We had a question in the chat from Heather. What would be a good tool to figure out your customer demographics for a region for a service-based business?
So if you track your customers, Heather, by their zip codes, then you can share those with your SBDC and we can plug those in and find out where they're located within the region and then compare them to those, if you recall, those customer segments. This example I use, Metro Moms or Metro's Soccer Moms Professional Pride. We can find out who the majority of your customers are and then look at those hot spots within the region, within the US and do direct marketing to those specific areas.
Okay. I wanted to mention too, if you have, well, obviously the whole address, there are services that you can, for a few pennies a name, get that. But if you have the Zip Plus 4 mapping software will allow you to take it down to the census block group. Yes. Now, you don't have to know what that means, but it's about 1,000 people. It's a pretty good representation of the neighborhood level, and it's something that's a little tighter than just the zip code. So it basically, if you have an address and we can add the Zip Plus 4 to it, you can really know a lot about the neighborhoods and the type of people and get a really good breakdown or distinction.
And Alan, Esri will do it just with the 5 digits by the census data as well too. So if you had the 4, it's more specific, but they will just take the 5.
Yeah.
I guess I should be more specific. I don't market to everybody. It's very specific. It's industry specific. And every one of my clients are in a different state.
Oh, okay.
So what we could do, I remember, I think you were on one of our other sessions too, Heather, and you're more B2B focused, I believe. And we could take similar information, but truly understanding who that decision maker is within that business and then keying in on that marketing target based on the persona of that decision maker.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Well, before we move off of mapping, one of the reasons, there are a few things I want to say. And first is, I really recommend that you work with SBDC. And partly because mapping is cool. And you see these maps and they're cool and you go, wow, this is cool. But that's not really what you're trying to get out of it. You're trying to get something useful out of it. And I've made what I think were some of just the simplest maps. And like, for example, I worked with the cartoonist that draws Garfield. And he asked us to make a map of where his customers were in the United States. We made it. And he looks at the map and he said, wow, look at that. I got a lot of customers in California and New York, and there's hardly any in Wyoming. That's amazing. It's like, no, that's not amazing. That's what you would expect based on population. But everybody sees their maps that way at first. And so it's important to have somebody that's an expert. And the other thing that it's useful with an expert is they can really help you see how to look at it. So I've done things with banks, for example, that asked me to make maps where they said, show me where my customers are, show me where my potential customers are. And then I would make a map showing what percentage of the customers they had, color coded and gave that back to them. And every time I've done that, I've been like, wow, we need more branches here, or we need more branches there. It was a different way of looking at it. So just having somebody who understands maps and works with them really helps you deal with it, because they're just so darn cool. It's easy to be wowed and not use it properly. So.